So, you had mentioned that his philosophy, Jiva Goswami philosophy, based on Bhagavatam,
Right.
As Shabda Praman,
Yes.
and its relationship with Vedas. So, can you explain that?
Yeah, so when he begins writing the Sandarbhas, the first part is the Praman Shastra, which is a tradition in India.
Right.
That first they discuss what is the Pramana. So in India, we all accept Vedas as the supreme authority. And those who belong to the Vedanta school, whether that is a theistic Vedanta or non-theistic Vedanta, they all accept Prasthanatrayi as the authority, which means the 10 principal Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra and Bhagavad Gita. But Jiva Goswami added a fourth to that. And not only added, but he said that this fourth one is superior to the other three. And he explains that. So that is Bhagavatam.
Now, why is it superior?
That's what I'm going to explain. He said that first he starts, he says, as far as knowing the absolute reality is concerned, no human being can know that by our senses, because our senses have limitations and they also are prone to be illusioned. So we cannot know the absolute reality from that. So the only way we can know is from the Vedas. But then he says that Vedas at present are not available in their completeness. And this we understand that even from Mahabhasya of Patanjali, there should be 101,020 Upanishads. He mentions this because the Vedas have 1,120 branches. So there are 100 branches of Rig Veda, 1,000 branches of Samveda, then 20 of Atharva, like that. So there are 120 branches of the Vedas, but at present what we have is maybe 10 or 12 of them. So he says, since so much is not available to us, we cannot ascertain from that what all is lost and what is available. And then on that also he says there is no consensus about the interpretation of it. So then he says that, well, there is Vedanta Sutra, which is supposed to give the essence of the Upanishads. So then he says about Vedanta Sutra also there is a lot of opinion about it. And major one is that some say that it is the ultimate reality is Nirguna, Nirakara Brahman, and then there are others, acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarkacharya, who say that no, it is the personal reality. So he says how actually to ascertain which is superior and what is actually the essence of the Vedas. So then he says that then we must have a book which explains these things very clearly. So then he points to Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Now the Bhagavatam itself begins with this story. If you read the 4th chapter of Bhagavatam, then Bhagavatam has this incident there that Vyasa, he sits on the bank of Saraswati river where his ashram was, and he is little bit in distressful state of mind. And he's thinking that I have done everything. He's the one who divided the Vedas into 4. He's the one who wrote Mahabharata for the common people who cannot. Stri Vyasya Deshbandhi Nam Traina Shruti Gochara. Stri Vyasya Deshbandhu, they are not allowed to study Shrutis. So Karm Shreyasi Mudhanam Shreya Eva Bhavediha. So how they are in ignorance about their activities, their duties, which will bring them the ultimate benefit. So, iti Bharat Akhyanam Kripya Muni Nakritam. Therefore, he wrote Mahabharata. So, Mahabharata is actually giving the essence of the Vedas only. So, Bharata Vyapdesena hi Amnayartha Darshita. In the name of Mahabharata, he has given the meaning of the Vedas. But then, if you read the Mahabharata, there are so many things which are mentioned. There are a lot of talk about Istri Dharma, Varnashram Dharma, Dharma of the Brahmanas, king, Raj Dharma, all those types of things, and you still don't become clear what is one thing which is the ultimate reality. So when he was in this state of mind, then his guru Vyasa, Narada Muni, appears there, and they talk, and then Narada Rishi asks him how you feel, and he says that I feel some incompleteness in me. So he says, why you feel incomplete? You have written Mahabharata, you have compiled the Puranas, you have written Vedanta Sutra, you have done so much welfare to humanity. So he says, I don't know, something still seems to be missing. So Narada then says that the missing part is that you have not very clearly explained the absolute reality. Bhavata anudit prayam yaso amlo bhagavato yaso amlam. That the pure fame, glory of Bhagwan you have not written. So now you should write another book for that purpose. So then Vyasa, he sits in meditation, bhakti-yogena, samyak pranite male, and in the meditation this knowledge is revealed to him. So this is a revealed knowledge. Apashyat purusham purnam mayam cha tadapashrayam yaya sammohito jivo atmanam trigunatmakam manute anartho tatkritam cha vipadyate. So he saw the supreme reality, he saw Maya, he saw the Jiva, he saw the problem of the Jiva being controlled by Maya, and then he writes Bhagavatam. So therefore he says that this Bhagavatam is the supreme Pramana. And
so his work is based on that.
Therefore his work is based. So first he establishes Bhagavatam as the supreme Pramana.
Right.
And then he begins explaining what is there in Bhagavatam.
Yeah. So in our discussion yesterday, you were summarizing the idea, what is distinct about the Jiva Goswami's system, that the ultimate existence, ultimate truth, ultimate reality is one tattva, and that tattva is conscious.
Right.
And that conscious tattva is called Krishna. That is the name for that conscious. So tell us about that, and how this conscious tattva already includes all the potentialities, already includes the prakriti. It's not a dual separate Purush prakriti, and how that manifests. So tell us about that, the basic cosmology of the system.
So one thing which I want to say is that Jiva Goswami, although he analyzes Bhagavatam, and he brings out the principles, but for everything he also gives pramanas from the Upanishads, from the Vedas. So he is not saying that I don't care for the Vedas or I don't care for the Upanishads.
So he's interpreting and taking his knowledge out of the Bhagavatam,
and then he shows that.
But then he's finding correlates and supports in the Upanishads to say that I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Right.
This is more complete.
Yeah.
But I'm also finding that it is very consistent with the Upanishads.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. So this is his uniqueness.
Yes.
So he's not rejecting that.
Yeah.
So in the Bhagavatam, the way Bhagavatam begins, this is very wonderful. It begins with 6 questions.
Right.
And one of the questions which is asked, that there are so many scriptures, Bhurini Bhuri Shastrani. So the Sonaka Rishi asked that Samudhrita Yat Saram, that you please tell me what is the essence of all this. Bruhina Shraddha Dhananam Yen Atma Samprasidati. That we who are faithful, you tell that one process by which our Atma will become completely satisfied. Because every human being, whether you are theist or atheist or no matter what you are, we are all looking for happiness. That is one point where we all agree. Nobody will say that I don't want happiness. So he says, tell me, where can I get this happiness? Bruhina Shraddha Dhananam Yen Atma Samprasidati. Now you can say, well, happiness I can get by food, I can get by drug, I can get by sex, I can get by power, all these things. So he says, na samprasidati. Not some fleeting happiness, but where I feel completely satisfied. Then my mind is not again running here and there.
And permanent.
Permanent.
Yes.
So then he starts, basically Bhagavatam is an answer to that. And that's why it is unique in that sense. Because Bhagavatam is not, he could have named this book as Krishna Purana. But he calls it as Bhagavata Purana. Means it is the Purana of Bhagavan, of the ultimate reality. And then he identifies that with Krishna. So there when he is answering, first of course he answers this in Savai Punsham Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radhoksaje Ahitkiya Pratihata Yayatma Samprasidati. He answers in one sloka and then expands on it. He says, that is the supreme dharma of a human being, which will bring you to bhakti. Why? Because bhakti is the only thing which gives you complete happiness. And then he starts explaining why, what is the reason for that. So in that process he says that dharma hi apargasya nartharthaya kalpate narthasya dharme kantasya kamo labha hi smrita kamasya nendriya priti labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa narthayasya karmati. He says that dharma is not meant to make money. Very interesting. Dharmasya hi apvargasya nartharthaya kalpate. He says dharma is meant for apvarga. It is meant to liberate you from all this suffering and bondage.
And even the need to make money.
And then he says, of course, money is needed. But he says, narthasya dharma. What is the purpose of money? He says, na kamo labhaya na smrita. He says, money is not for sense pleasure. Money is meant for dharma.
Good.
And then he says, what is the purpose of sense pleasure? He says, sense pleasure is also needed. So he says, kamasya na indriya priti. He says, sense pleasure is not for just gratifying your senses, but so that you can survive. Kamasya na indriya priti labho jiveta yavata. You take as much as you need to survive, so that you can live. Then the question comes, why I have to live? What is the purpose? He says, jivasya tattva jigyasa. He says, the purpose of life is do tattva jigyasa. Now this is where Vedanta comes. Athato brahma jigyasa. Because Brahman and tattva same thing. Tattva brahmani yathartha. The word tattva means Brahman and yathartha. So he says, jivasya tattva jigyasa na artho yasya he karma. He said the goal of life is not artha by your karma, but it is tattva jigyasa. Because only that tattva jigyasa will lead you to happiness. After all, from money also what you want is happiness.
Right.
Money is not for the sake of money. You think that money will give you support and you will be happy. But he says this will come only by tattva jigyasa. So next the question comes, what is tattva?
Yes, so let's start there. That's the philosophy.
Yeah, so that's where the philosophy comes, and this is one of the very important sloka, and on this sloka he writes 3 books.
Okay.
So he says, Vadanti, this is in Bhagavatam, Vadanti tattat vidas tattvam yas jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdata. He says, those who are tattvit, they say that tattva is advaigyan. So this is very interesting. Bhagavatam is not saying that tattva is Krishna to begin with. Because then many people will say, well, I don't believe in this. I am a Shaivite, or I am this, or I am that. He says that tattva is advaigyan. Tattva is non-dual consciousness. Now about this nobody will have any argument. So that is the common ground at which all transcendentalists will agree. Nobody is going to disagree that the ultimate reality is one, because it cannot be two, then it is not ultimate, and it has to be conscious, because matter cannot be the ultimate reality. So therefore he says that ultimate reality is advaigyan. That is one thing. Then he says that this ultimate reality is known by 3 names. Now it is not that there are 3 ultimate realities, but there are 3 different names for that. So he says Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Shabdate. That it is called Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan.
Okay.
So for that Jiva Goswami has Tattva Sandarbha, it has Bhagavad Sandarbha, it has Paramatma Sandarbha.
On the 3 names of reality.
Yes. It is very interesting that most people in India, Hindus, we don't know the difference between Bhagavan and Paramatma. We understand that Brahman is and Bhagavan are different.
Right.
But what is the difference between Paramatma and Bhagavan? This is not known. He wrote a whole book on that. So what he says is that this ultimate reality first of all has energies.
Right.
Because Upanishads also say Parasya Shaktir Vivdhai Vishruyate Swabhavaki Jnana Balakriyacha. That this tattva has Parashakti and it is Swabhaviki. So it is not a superimposition as Advaita Vedanta.
So it's not Maya causing it.
No. Swabhavaki Jnana Balakriyacha. Swabhavaki means inherent, intrinsic to that tattva. So, but then there is also talk of that this Brahman is Nirguna and Nirakara. There are statements.
Right.
So Jiva Goswami says that the same reality can be understood at 3 different levels. I give this example many times, that suppose you are in an aeroplane, you are coming to New York. So when you are above, you see the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
You just see a big mass of the ocean. You don't see any variety in it. Then when you are near the airport, you start seeing that there are some boats inside the ocean.
Right.
There is some variety. But then you go to the airport, you go to the beach, and maybe you go inside the sea and you see actually this is the whole world there. So these are the three different views of the same object. It is not that there are three different objects.
And these views depend on the individual's level of consciousness?
Right. So he says that those who are following the path of Jnana Marga, because Jnana is only for mukti.
Right.
They want freedom from suffering. This is how Shankaracharya says that you have to approach a guru as if the whole world is on fire. Right? So then you don't have a time to ask who put the fire and what. Just get the hell out of here.
Right.
So that's why mukti means liberation from.
Right.
So it is not telling you what is after that. Just that I am suffering and I want to get rid of my suffering. So therefore they only speak of Brahman, which is free from all that.
Right.
So that is their understanding of the Absolute.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that Absolute does not have power in it. Otherwise how this world comes into existence. So he says that Bhagavan is replete with energies. And the realization of same Bhagavan without energies is Brahman. Just like if you have a red rose. So in red rose there are two things. It is a qualified object, right? So there is an object, substantive, that is the rose. And then there is the quality, redness in it. Now, usually whenever we see something, we always see it with these qualities, whether it is a form or a color or a shape or some smell or fragrance, different qualities. But actually, according to Nyaya philosophy, whenever we see something, at the first moment your experiences of object and the qualities separate from each other without any relationship. So that is called Nirvikalpak Pratyaksha. And then at the second moment, there is a Savikalpak Pratyaksha, qualified experience. So he says that this Brahman is the Nirvikalpak experience of Bhagavan. And because these people don't want more than that, they remain at that level only. But that doesn't mean that something above is not there.
Right.
So therefore he says we have no problem with that. We are only saying that this is one aspect of the Absolute.
But there is more to it.
But there is more to it.
Right.
So therefore he says that this is incomplete experience of the Tattva.
So the Advait, the non-duality, the emptiness of form and content is true, but it is not the whole truth.
Right.
That is.
It is part of it.
It is part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he says this is asamyak avirbhav of Tattva.
Yes.
That is the word he uses. That this is the incomplete manifestation of the reality to them. Because this is, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathai bhajamyaham. As one approaches me, I relate myself in the same way. So if you want to see Krishna as Brahman, then he appears to you as Brahman. And why should he appear as Krishna? Because you are not interested in that.
Right. So just to say it differently, maybe make sure I understand it. We're talking about structure and content.
Right.
And we're contrasting it with the Advait view, where the structure and content is caused by the Maya.
Yeah, it is superimposition.
It's a superimposition, and it is false. It is illusionary, and the truth is to get rid of the Maya and see the reality, and that reality doesn't have content and structure.
Yeah, not only see the reality, but you become one. With
You
it.
become one.
Because there is nothing else.
I was originally trained and raised in the Advait system. But then I discovered many other ways of understanding which were not Advait.
Right.
So I want to ask you this question. Sri Aurobindo's view is that the ultimate, the absolute tattva includes in potential all the content, context, space, time, nam, rup, everything in potential is there, and then it manifests into the world as we see it.
Right.
So the wave and the ocean, the wave is a form of the ocean, doesn't mean that the wave doesn't exist. The wave is also real.
Right.
But it cannot, what is false is to think that it exists as a thing by itself.
Right.
To not see the ocean and you only see the wave because that is all you can see on the surface and say this, what I'm seeing is all there is, this is the truth, that is what is an illusion. But to know the wave as a form of the ocean and to see both there is an ocean and then there's a wave to it is in fact a better insight. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree, except that Jiva Goswami goes a little step beyond that.
Okay.
Because in this, the problem which comes is that means all the imperfections of the waves, they also exist in the tattva.
Okay.
They become part of tattva.
Okay.
So now no one will accept that because we say that tattva is amalam. It is free from any defects, free from modification. This is one big problem. Actually, why Advaitavad Sankaracharya says that world is false is because the ultimate reality cannot have modifications.
Right.
Even we jivas, we don't get modified. Avikaryoyam achintyoyam. Krishna says that it is avikari. So this now the samsara is having a vikar in it.
Right.
So if this is exactly one part of that, then how we are going to distinguish this?
So you have to figure out, even though the wave is real, how to handle the
imperfection.
The imperfection.
This should not reflect in the absolute.
Yes. So what is his answer?
So therefore, Advaitavad had a very simple way of doing it.
You could put Maya.
Then this is actually
everything you blame on Maya.
It doesn't really exist.
Right. So we don't have to worry about it.
So you don't have to worry. And others have dealt in different ways. Sri Ramanujacharya says that it is qualified monism.
Right.
That it is a quality, and he calls this sharir shariri bhav. It's like we have body and there is a shariri inside, the atma. So the imperfections of the body do not reflect into atma, but atma, the sharir cannot exist without the atma, so it depends on that.
Right.
This is his way of saying. Jiva Goswami comes with this idea of Achintya Bheda Abheda, which is a very beautiful idea.
Achintya Bheda Abheda.
Yes. So he says that absolute reality, first of all, you must understand that absolute reality is Achintya.
Inconceivable.
Now, inconceivable should not be misunderstood that we cannot understand it.
Okay.
People think just because it's Achintya, I cannot know. Achintya, he says that Achintyam nam tarka asaham, that it is beyond logic.
Okay.
If you want to understand the absolute reality simply by logic, then you will have some problem somewhere or the other.
Right.
Because obviously it must be above logic.
Right.
If it is absolute reality, because logic is a product of mind.
Right.
And you can give one logic, I can counter that with another logic, then you can come with another logic.
Yes.
I studied Nyaya. Nyaya is full of all that.
Yeah.
One after another one, and there is no end. There is no perfect logic.
Right.
So therefore there is a Vedanta Sutra which says Tarka apratishthanath. That Tarka does not have pratishtha, means it does not have the ultimate stand. Somebody with a better and finer, thinking mind can counter it. So therefore our Praman is not Tarka, but Praman is Shabda.
Yeah.
So therefore Achintya also means Shastraika Gamyam. That which can only be known by Shastra, not by Tarka. But that does not mean that absolute reality is completely illogical. So there is things which you can say is illogical, things which are logical, and things which are supralogical.
Supralogical, yeah.
So this is Achintya, what he means.
Okay.
And that supralogical includes the logical in it.
Yes. Yes. Fine.
So this logical part is also there, but it has a limit. And above that, you should not then become adamant that it must also be logic. But there must be something which you go beyond that.
Right. So how do you explain the imperfections using this?
So therefore he says that he makes that absolute reality has got three types of energies. There is an intrinsic potency, Antaranga Shakti.
Which is permanent.
Yeah, all energies are permanent.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there is the Tatastha Shakti, which is intermediary. And then there is external Shakti, Bahiranga.
Okay.
So this material world is made of Bahiranga Shakti.
Okay.
Now, because it is Shakti, energy, potency, and he is the potent one, so this Shakti is not independent of that.
Correct.
So when we say that something is Bheda, Bheda means just like this table and this chair, there is a difference between them. Why? Because this chair can exist without table.
And vice versa.
Yeah. The existence of the chair does not depend on the existence of the table.
Right.
But this material world cannot exist without the Supreme Tattva.
Right.
Therefore, it is not Bheda in that sense.
Right.
So it is Abheda in that.
Okay.
Because this cannot exist. But at the same time, there is also Bheda.
Right.
Because what happens in this does not reflect in him.
Right.
So that's why Bheda and Abheda both exist. So he says, he spends a lot of time to explain that God, Bhagavan or Tattva has contradictory potencies in him.
Very important point.
Yeah.
Very important.
So he says Virodha Shakti.
So these are potentials.
Yeah.
They have not been realized until they are realized as Prakriti. Prakriti is sort of the realization
Right.
of these potentials,
Yes.
right? So it also means that this Sankhya dualism, Purush, Prakriti gets reconciled.
Right.
Am I right? That they are not two ultimate truths. There is one
Actually,
tattva.
everything gets reconciled in this Achintya Bheda Abheda.
So
Very
the
nice.
one tattva includes all the forms, all the content structures as potentialities, including all the contradictions.
Right.
Including all the contradictions.
Including all the contradictions.
So whatever emanates out of it will, as it scatters and emanates more and more, it looks more and more like the world to us.
Right.
And it looks like this is contradicting that and this is separate from that.
But in him there is no contradiction. He is the one personality in which all contradictions get harmonized.
So it's like a person who's got many facets, infinite facets, infinite potentialities.
Yes.
And from Raji's point of view, all of that is harmonized.
Yeah, because
You may think that I have all these
you
contradictions.
say you may be acting in one way with one person,
Yeah.
and maybe very cruel way,
Yeah.
and with another person you are having very love.
But I have a reason for it.
Yeah, you have a reason,
Yeah.
and so you
for
don't.
Me, for me, there's no
So
contradiction.
these two people may think that you are behaving very contradictory,
Right.
but in you don't have that contradiction.
Because they have the external view of me.
Right.
And mine is an internal
So
view.
therefore, in God, in Bhagavan, in Krishna, there is no contradiction.
Right. Right.
This contradiction is from our point of view,
Right. Right.
but not from their point of view. So we can see the reality from two angles.
Right.
We can see it from our point of view, and we can see from the absolute point of view.
Right.
So when we see from absolute point of view, there is only oneness.
Right.
Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha.
So you also have non-duality.
Right.
It is not a dualistic system.
No, it is
a
not.
dualistic
No, it
system.
is not a dualistic.
And so this is a kind of Advait, but a different kind of Advait.
Right.
It is not the Shankara Advait.
No, it is not Shankara.
Shankara Advait. It is an Advait which says the oneness includes the manyness.
Right.
The manyness is included as oneness, potential of the oneness, and therefore when it manifests, it is not some illusion, it is the reality, right?
Right.
But you have to see the waves as a manifestation of the ocean. As long as you are seeing the ocean, when you are seeing the waves, you are okay.
Right. So therefore he says that the other part of manifestation of Bhagavan,
Yeah,
which is the spiritual world,
right,
that is all made of his intrinsic potency. And modifications don't apply there. That is beyond the three gunas of nature. So we have all the three gunas this side. This is the Bahiranga Shakti. This is the material creation. And then there is a spiritual region where God personally lives.
Mm.
So therefore, what is the need of Paramatma? This is interesting.
Mm.
Why Paramatma? Then why not have just Brahman and Bhagavan?
Mm.
So Paramatma is that Paramatma is in charge of this material world. Just like you have your home. So you have your wife, your children, you have your in-law. You have very cool with them, nice, loving affair, no problem, relaxed. You may be not dressed in a very official manner. But suppose you also have an office.
Right.
And where there are 5,000 people working under you. So when you go there, then you are a big boss. You may have actually personal guards around you. No one can come and touch and just crack a joke with you, like your children may do that. So when you go there your dress and your mood both change, and your actions are different. When you come home, you drop all that and now you're relaxed. So therefore Bhagavan is God when he lives in his own home, and Paramatma is when he comes in his office.
Okay.
So
So
he's-
Paramatman is the access method to us.
Right.
Huh?
Right.
So,
So
if
he-
there were a website, that would be Paramatma.
Right.
Paramatma.com.
Right.
Not Bhagwan.
No, Bhagavan is not known to us.
Okay.
So when people are talking about God and Ishvara,
Yeah.
this means Paramatma.
Right.
So this Paramatma, this is what Krishna says, Samoham sarvbhutesu name dveshastu na priya. He says that I am equal to all.
Mm.
So he is fair to everyone.
Mm.
But when he is at home, he is not like that.
Mm.
He loves one child more than the other one. Obviously, even father are like
Yes,
that,
yes.
right? You have some more affection for one thing. So therefore he says, Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya, maichatesu tvam. That those who worship me with love,
Yes.
I am in them, they are in me.
Right.
So there he becomes biased. Paramatma is unbiased.
Mm.
Bhagavan becomes biased to his devotees. So he can come and kill Hiranyakashipu and protect Prahlad. Paramatma will not do that.
So, is the distinction, so in this system, Achintya Bheda Abheda, different entities as we see them, while reconciled as Bhagavan sees them,
Right.
and contradictory as we see them, but not contradictory as Bhagavan sees them. Do these ultimately exist? In other words, will the Atman be always distinct Atman from Paramatman, or will it merge?
No, it will always be distinct.
Distinct.
Yeah, always.
So
Because that is the fun.
that is the fun. So,
You see,
so
if
what
you
we are
come-
saying
if
is
you
that
come home
yeah. So what we are
and then you
saying
don't
is
find anybody there.
no, but what we are saying is that a very important point here is that every Atman exists as a potential within Paramatman, emanates from there, and it always is a distinct entity. So all possible Atmans are potentially possible existing within Paramatman already.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah, there is no beginning of, first of all, na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuva. Atma does not have a birth or death. We are as old as God.
So this universal, this tattva, has already included all the possible things that will come out of it, including all the Atmans, has already. So there's
It's
nothing.
infinite.
Nothing is created. Nothing will do this.
Purnamada purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamada.
So that's how that would be interpreted by you,
Yeah.
that sloka. So this means that the ultimate liberation, moksha, what is that state?
Yeah, this is now very interesting thing.
Yeah, because that's a different thing than saying, okay, we don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Because
So
then
Jiva
what's the
Goswami-
point?
Jiva Goswami says that actually goal of life is not moksha.
Okay.
So he says there is the fifth purushartha.
Okay.
He says dharma, artha, kama, moksha. This is known to people, but actually the real purushartha is priti, prem, love. He says if you take moksha, then also you are trying to be independent of God, which is the disease of living being here. What is the problem of living being here is that we are trying to be independent of God and enjoy, and that's not going to work out because you are not independent. Mamai vanso jiva bhute jiva lokas. Mamai vanso jiva loka jiva bhuta sanatana. So we are amsa of Krishna. So we cannot be independent. But if you want to be, he gives you the facility, and then you can get kicks from Maya, and maybe one day you will realize that you cannot be. So then you come back to him. So he says that the real goal of life is to get Preeti. And therefore he writes one book which is called Preeti Sandarbha. And in that he explains, and this makes sense. So now here he equates love with happiness. He says this happiness which people are actually looking for, really they are looking for love, because there is no difference between love and happiness. He says the real happiness is only in love. Even if you have everything with you, but you don't have love in your life, you would feel like committing suicide. But for love's sake, if you don't have anything, you will be satisfied.
So love is a eternal state.
Yeah. So therefore he says that the goal of life is to have that love for Krishna. So therefore he says the God's name is Krishna. This is not a Hindu name or anything. Krishna means all attractive. So we are looking for love. He is the love personified. Therefore he is all attractive. So he defines Bhagavan.
Yes.
He says, what is Bhagavan? He says, Ashwarasya samagrasya viryasya yashasya gyan vairagyas chapi sandam bhagavaitingana. That the word Bhagavan, like Balavan means one who has Bala, power. Dhanvan means one who has Dhana. So Bhagavan means one who has Bhaga. So he says there are 6 things are called Bhaga. Ashwarya, Virya, Yas, Shri, Gyan and Vairagya. So one who has got all these 6 things in completeness, he is Bhagavan. So Krishna manifested all 6. He showed his Ashwarya in Dwarka. He showed also his Vairagya when he was leaving, all his family was destroyed. He showed his Gyan, he spoke Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield.
3. So it seems to me that the neti is sort of negating, but not affirming something positive, like love.
Right.
So both the Shankara system and the opponents he has in Buddhism are a kind of a negative, negating what is false, but not a positive approach towards what is, not affirming what is true, not affirming a tattva which bhakti allows.
Right.
So the while Advaitins will explain logically that it is not a world negating, not a negative outlook, it is easy for Advaitin ordinary people to slip into that. So
Right.
many ordinary people I meet, whether it is their imperfect understanding or whatever, and that is what has bothered me a lot, is that I, being through the Advait system, found myself surrounded by people, very negative attitudes, very escapist, not wanting to do anything. Ultimate reality is that all this is false anyway, we got to abandon it. Then you ask them, okay, why are you a doctor if you want to heal a person? But whether he's living or dead, it's all Maya anyway. How does it matter to you? Why do you want to be honest? Whether you are dishonest or honest, it's all mithya anyway.
Yeah, there is no basis of
There is
morality
no,
then.
I mean, then they get angry. I mean, I've had a lot of discussions with pretty senior, persons in the Vedic tradition who could not handle this kind of an issue because it was too provocative for them.
Right.
Rather than getting angry at me and for raising these issues, they ought to give an intelligent answer. So this bothered me a lot. But I didn't feel that Advait in itself is deficient. I just felt that this particular approach to Advait that many people have had is different.
So therefore Jiva Goswami harmonizes.
Huh.
He is not rejecting Advaita,
I like that, yes.
but he is giving something more than that.
Right. He's saying the one includes the many.
Right.
And includes the multiplicities and contradictions, includes all of those
Yeah,
things. Now it's a question of where is your consciousness looking at?
Right.
Are you looking at the many, the one, where are you looking at? So now this is, I find that my access into this kind of a thinking happened through the study of Sri Aurobindo. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had been influenced by Jiva Goswami,
It's
because
possible because he was from Bengal.
he was, and is very deeply saying these kind of things. He is very angrily rejecting Shankara also, because he says it's all negative, this, that. He doesn't want to get into the Advaita, Vedanta theory and all that, because he feels it's not a positive view. So, and this idea, but he uses the vocabulary of Brahman with potency, Brahman with the, all the potentialities. He uses the idea of supra-rational, that through the supra-rational consciousness you see more than the rational.